Hey everybody, what's up? It's me, Adam. Welcome back to the Sales on Demand show. Apologies for the probably less than ideal quality of the sound here. I'm actually recording on my phone, just like I used to do. And I'm sitting in a hotel room in Las Vegas. So, I almost feel like this is the intro to a movie because you always start with the main character and he's doing something really weird, and then you have to get the backstory. And so, yeah, there's some backstory to this. If you heard the last episode of my show, you'll probably, hopefully remember that, I actually was going to Las Vegas to speak at a conference, and I was supposed to be returning yesterday. So why am I still here, you ask? Well, I thought I would talk a little bit about that, some of the things that I learned at this conference, because not only was I presenting and hosting it, I was also listening to the other sellers there and talking with students, and it was actually just really an amazing time. And I can't say enough good things about it. It went really well. And of course, I've got a upcoming trip to Florida that I'm going to see Mr. Thomas E. Woods, the great, and you know what? I can't even call him a failed podcaster. He's a fantastic guy. He's got a very successful podcast, The Tom Woods Show. He even did me the service of letting me speak on his show. So some of you guys might have actually started listening to this podcast because of that. I also want to ruminate about the differences between the United States and Canada. So I know I have a decent number of Americans and Canadians listening to the show, so maybe you guys will find some of this entertaining. Hopefully you will. So let's start with why I'm still here. And the long of the short of that is the Canadian government has got very strict entry requirements in terms of COVID testing. So when I left Canada, I went and got a COVID test at the airport. So I popped in, and I'd already scheduled this ahead of time, so I had to go get an antigen test, because the antigen test was the only one that you can get in 15 minutes. So, you sit in the chair, and then they take a little swab, and they just kind of swoop it around your nostrils a bit. They don't shove it right in there, thank God, but, they just kind of like go bloop, bloop. She even made the noise as she was doing it. It was pretty funny, actually. And then, 15 minutes later, you get this sheet of paper that says, congratulations, you have no COVID. And you're supposed to have that to get into the United States. So I went and paid $78 to get that. And I thought, okay, this will get me back into Canada. So that was mistake number one. I should have paid attention to the website that specified which kind of COVID test that I had to get, because an antigen test is not good enough for Canada, even though it is good enough for the United States. And the funny part is, nobody ever asked me for this. I had this COVID test in my pocket for, 48 hours, and nobody ever requested to see it. So getting into the United States was almost like the honor system. Like, you go get tested, and if you're positive, just don't come. Okay, we're trusting you. Cool, thanks, bye. So yeah, I don't know what the point of that was, but I suppose it was $78 that I donated to somebody, and I hope they spend it well. So yeah, showed up to the airport, and they told me, no, your COVID test isn't the right kind. You need this either a PCR test, which takes hours to complete, or you need some kind of other test that has an acronym. And I'd never even heard of it before. I knew about PCR tests because, who doesn't know about PCR tests? And I knew about an antigen test. I didn't know what that was, but now I do. But yeah, there was just, no real warning of that I saw. So they said, well, we're going to rebook your flight for tomorrow at the same time. So there was no way that I was going to be flying out yesterday. But I still thought, okay, I'll return to Canada, and, all's good, all's well. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to fly back to Canada. Now, at first I have to go get this PCR test. They don't have any testing at the airport, at the Las Vegas airport, so I got to go take a cab to this hotel. I guess they have a testing facility there, and it's, probably 4 miles from the airport. Oh, by the way, I'm trying to use miles now instead of kilometers, just because I'm in the U.S. and everybody talks like this, so nobody says kilometers. 6 kilometers, though. 4 miles, 6 kilometers from the airport, so, that's a $30 cab ride. So I went there, and then I thought, well, I'm going to pay for this test. It's probably going to be, $150, and then I got to stay overnight, probably at this hotel, because this is where the test is conducted, and, where else would I go, right? If I go to a cheaper hotel, I still have to come back here to get the results of the test, then I got to go back to the airport, get on the airplane, go back to Canada, do all of the check-in, rigmarole, probably have to go through another test when I get back, and then I got to go do the same thing again this coming weekend when I fly to Florida, because I'm going to Florida to see Tom Woods and all of these libertarian awesome people for the 2000th episode of the Tom Woods Show. So I've got that set in stone. I'm like, I'm going there. I got to do this. This is going to be a great trip. And the only trouble is that flying back into Canada and leaving Canada again is going to be a pain in the you-know-what. It's like I got a busy week. I got a lot of work to do. This just really kind of cramps my style. So I was like, okay, I could do that, or I could just fly straight to Florida from Las Vegas. I could just skip the whole flying back to Canada. The only trouble is that my wife was not too thrilled about that. And, it's Thanksgiving in Canada, and, I basically kind of just made this decision, and I really didn't ask her. I kind of just told her, and I feel bad about that. But I had already purchased the ticket from Las Vegas to Orlando by the time I told her, so I was kind of committed to it. I don't know, it's kind of a road trip, kind of an adventure. For me, it's fun. For her, it probably wouldn't be that much fun, but, I'm going to make it up to her when I get back, and of course the kids. So, you got to keep your wife happy, got to keep your family happy. Can't do stuff like this very often, but this kind of worked out. I don't want to say it worked out well, but it is working out as well as possible. So I'm now staying in a hotel on Las Vegas Strip, and I got to be honest with you, I'm underwhelmed by Las Vegas. I mean, at night it's flashy and glittery, and there's lights everywhere, but it kind of gets old after a while. Like it fails to impress after the 30th time you see the inside of a casino. And I have no interest in gambling. I just have no interest whatsoever in taking my money, putting it in a machine, and then asking the machine to give me more money. It sounds like a losing proposition to me. I gamble my money on Amazon by sending in, FBA products. I pay for them in advance, and then I send them in, and I've never lost money on that. Never. Well, I mean, I've sometimes had to destroy money, but overall, I have 99% of the time made money on that particular, call it a gambling technique, but really it's not gambling. It's just business, right? And I'm actually contributing to the world at large. I'm not just feeding some glittering machine, dollar bills or something like that. I don't even know if you put coins in a casino or a slot machine now. But I will say that these slot machines are just ridiculous. They're just so extra. I've never seen anything that is just so over the top as these slot machines in Las Vegas. I mean, each one of them probably has to cost $10,000. They got these giant curved screens on them, that's just flashing lights all over this thing. And then there's not just one of them, but there's probably 100 or 150 of them in every single casino. And there's casinos on every corner. I mean, this really is just the most ridiculous place I've ever seen in my whole life. But, I guess some people enjoy this, so who am I to tell them that they shouldn't enjoy it? It's just not my cup of tea. So, getting food here is also kind of a pain because, I don't know why everything's so far apart. Like downtown in a normal city, you'd have restaurants that are kind of lined up here, but it doesn't work like that in Las Vegas. Everything is actually quite far apart. It's not like what you think, where everything's really crowded together. You got to walk quite a ways to get anywhere, and nobody walks. Everybody takes cabs or Ubers. So I miss my car. I don't like taking cabs and Ubers. I want to drive myself. I'm not drinking here. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I just want to drive around and do stuff. I kind of wanted to drive out and see the Hoover Dam. And I thought it would be kind of fun to see Lake Mead and maybe look at some of the mountains, maybe even do like a half an hour of hiking or something like that. And so I had actually tried to book a rental car for when I got here, but I don't have a U.S. credit card. Like, that's the thing that I'm missing. No U.S. credit card, no car rental. So that's really annoying. It would have, I don't know about the money thing. Like, I guess I probably spent about the same amount of money on cabs, and it's just easy to walk out and get a cab. But I like having my freedom, right? I just like to be able to just get in a car, plug in my phone to the charger, maybe turn on the air conditioning. I don't like having to sit in the back of some stranger's taxi or something while they literally like drive through traffic like a maniac. I mean, not all the taxi drivers were maniacs, but one guy was. Like, I could hear my suitcase in the back just like bouncing around as he was driving and like braking suddenly. He was staring at his phone the whole time, and I'm like, all right, just please don't kill me. Put on my seatbelt, and I was like braced with my knees against the back of the seat, and I'm like, all right, well, see how this goes. What's the thing you do when you're on fire? Stop, drop, and roll. Okay, I'm ready to do that. So, yeah, obviously nothing happened, but it was an interesting experience. Also, the U.S. is still using pennies. What's with that? Why? Why are you still using pennies? Did you miss the memo where pennies are basically worthless? So in Canada, for those of you who are in the U.S., you don't know, you don't have pennies. You can't get a penny anywhere. I mean, you could probably find a penny somewhere, but it's not legal tender anywhere. Like, nobody wants them. Literally nobody wants pennies in Canada. If anybody wants pennies, it's because they're crazy. So we've basically abolished the penny. And if you go to a gas station or something like that, and you order something, and the cost of it comes out to an uneven number, or it's not divisible by 5, they will round it down or round it up. And everybody is just cool with that because pennies suck. Nobody wants a pocket full of pennies. We'll happily forego the couple of cents. I'll consider it a donation to your well-being. I don't want pennies. I don't even want nickels. Just no change, no coins. Ironically, it's probably the most valuable thing about an American currency is the actual coins. But I hate. And I also, what's with the money that's all the same color? That's also really annoying. Not that Canadian dollars are worth very much, because they're actually worth less than American dollars, which are becoming worthless in and of themselves. But at least it's nice if you're paying somebody to be able to look in your wallet and be like, how much money do I need? Okay, I've got a 5 here. It's a really different color than the $10 bill. The $10 bill is a vastly different color than the 20, and the 20 and the 50 look very much different. But the American money, you look in there, and I got to kind of like bend the corner to see what it says. It's like 20. And it's not even like written in a normal script where you can read it. The 20 is like really stylized, so it's hard to read. It's I don't know, I guess you just got to get used to it, but yeah, the money's weird, and it's just bizarre that I can't tell the difference between the currency, and it's also really annoying that none of my cards work here, so I had to pull cash out of the ATM, but, cash is king, I suppose. And, nobody really here does Apple Pay. I never see anybody do an Apple Pay or tap or anything like that. It's still pretty archaic down here. Las Vegas is also really dirty. Like, it's just really sticky and grimy. Everything smells here. You can smell like sweaty cigarette smoke everywhere you go. Like, fortunately for me, I'm not really repulsed by smells. They just don't really bother me. It kind of fades out after a few minutes. I know some people are really sensitive to smell, so you would not like it here, and you especially wouldn't like it in casinos, because you're allowed to smoke inside casinos, and that's also really weird because in Canada you can't smoke indoors pretty much anywhere. Like, you cannot smoke indoors in almost any building except for your own home. Anywhere in Canada, there is no public areas that you can smoke inside a building. Maybe you can smoke in a casino, but I don't go into casinos in Canada, so I guess I don't get that vibe. But here, smoking indoors is pretty common in the casino, and there's people wandering around with lit cigarettes, and kind of stinks, so it's kind of gross. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see more of the surrounding area of Las Vegas, because it's a really cool local area, and I'm kind of stuck here, and I'm a little bummed about that. But I am heading to Orlando at 10 o'clock tonight. Going to be hopping on literally a red-eye flight. Apparently I'm going to Charlottesville first. Going to be spending a layover there. I don't know how long a layover is, but it's not long enough to go and do anything, and not short enough that it's about a 2-hour layover, and then I'm hopping on another flight to Orlando, and I arrive at 9 a.m. So I guess I'm going to be pulling an all-nighter, which it's fine. I don't really care about that. Still pretty accustomed to going without sleep. Doesn't bother me as much as maybe some people. I'll probably get some rest on the plane, have a few naps here. I'll be fine for that. And then, I have still like 3 days until this event, so I'm going to be renting a motel and just doing my work from the motel room and kind of living off the grid for a little bit. And I don't know, it sounds like kind of an adventure to me, so I'm not really super bummed about that. I've kind of always wanted to just go and do a little bit of something like this, kind of some fun, do some traveling. This is kind of a golden opportunity to do that. And it's a short one, and I'm very, very fortunate, blessed, very, very blessed that I can work from anywhere. And this is really the takeaway here, is that if you work remotely, if you work online, you're not locked into any location. Like, if I have internet access, and granted, I kind of need reliable internet access, but I don't know any hotels that don't have free Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi in here is pretty good, so I'm pretty well covered here. I could sit at this little table in my hotel room and make a podcast, talk to students, do my work remotely, fill orders on Amazon, and there's no difference between me being here or me being at home, except that, I miss my family, and I miss my pillow. I have a really nice pillow at home, and using these hotel pillows, it's just not the same. I got a buckwheat pillow. It's full of grains of buckwheat. I just find that more comforting than these really tall pillows. Yeah, not a fan. Anyway, I can get used to that. I'm actually accustomed to not having a pillow at all if I'm out in the field with the army or something like that. So I'm not a diva or anything, but there's some comforts at home that you kind of miss a little bit, especially the family. But I'll have an adventure and a story to tell when I get back home, and that's worth something, I think. I'm not unhappy. So let's switch gears a little bit. I'll talk about this conference that I was just at and some of the really great takeaways, because I think you guys are going to really appreciate, just the high-level view that I'm starting to get of how to run a business. Not just a little hobby business, right? Making a couple bucks here and there is fine. It's great. But I mean, the students that I was speaking to here, and even myself, we are operating at a high level. So the students, not only did they pay to come to Las Vegas and to hear, we had 3 coaches and 1 person who isn't really a print-on-demand guy, but he's like a philosophy kind of guy, and he's really, really valuable. He's really good at what he does. We all came to speak in Las Vegas. We paid money to stay at this hotel. I mean, they paid money. I got reimbursed for it. And they put out of pocket to be able to engage with people who are successful. And not only that, they've already paid to be in the program. I think it's a couple thousands of dollars they've paid to be in the program, which, I mean, in terms of high-level coaching programs, isn't unusual. And for the value, for what they're paying, they're getting a tremendous amount of value out of this program. And it's because I'm putting out a lot of value, right? So I'm actually in charge of the program and in delivering the content and making sure that everybody gets a great experience. So it's an intimidating role, because, when people pay a lot of money to be part of a program, they expect to have a lot of value in that program, and I'm under the gun to provide that value. I get paid very well to do it, but also that's a lot of responsibility, and I don't take it lightly that that's basically a big part of my life right now. So, we had planned this thing, and there was about 13 students that made it, and it doesn't sound like very many, but it actually filled the room quite nicely, and it was kind of a perfect number. If we'd had more students, we would have needed more people presenting, because it was a tremendous opportunity for us to just work individually with people and get people working on things. And I was able to go up and help people sort of set things up, their store up or something like that. We got to chat with people. We got to know people. I got to go on some rides on top of the hotel that I was staying at. If you're familiar with Las Vegas, you might know the Stratosphere. It's the tallest building in Las Vegas. It's very, very tall. It looks like, it looks like the Calgary Tower or the CN Tower or the Seattle Tower or something. It's just a big tower with a big dome at the top and restaurants in there. So that was where we stayed, the hotel. And then we went up and had a little party on Saturday night. Had some food. Some people had some drinks. I don't care about drinking, so it's just me enjoying some conversation with people, and I had so many people come up to me and say, I'm just really appreciative of this program. I'm glad I came, and I was glad that they came too, and I was glad that I came. But really, in the end, you guys probably want to know what my big takeaways from this program and this weekend were, because now I've really, really played this up a lot. Now I got to really deliver some good value. So here it is, guys. This is the takeaways from this weekend. This is for me, probably more than for anybody listening. But if you find this valuable, if you really want to expand your business, then pay attention to what I'm doing, because I am going hard. I'm not halfway on this, right? This is not a halfway business for me. This is an all-in. I'm 100% in. I'm bought in. I'm going for it. I want to, make $1 million. That's my goal, because I love, this travel thing kind of is fun. I'd like to do more of it. I'm having a good time, but it is pretty expensive. I mean, just the cab rides alone, I'm probably, down, $150 on just cab rides. Every time you sit in a cab, it's $30, $40. Anyway, so there was a couple of sellers at this event who are doing really, really well, and we were discussing some strategies to scale up our business and, get to that $1 million mark. We realized that you can't do everything alone. You have to build a team. You absolutely must. And we actually sat and we did a hot seat thing where I interviewed someone who is actually more successful than I am to be perfectly honest. But I'm actually pretty good at doing these interviews, even if I'm not at their level. It's about provoking somebody to think, and it was just as valuable for me as it was for them. So, I said, hey, listen, you're at $500,000 a year in sales or more. What's the next goal for you? Are you happy with this? Are you gonna push for more? And how can you get to that point? Do you want to make $1 million, or does it matter to you? And she's like, I guess I'm happy with what I'm doing right now, and I don't want to work harder because I want to enjoy the benefits of making $500,000 a year in sales. Profits of $250,000. So, in the end, if I do anything to scale my business, it's going to be building a team. And then we talked about specifically, what are you going to get that team to do, right? Let's hear the actual actions you're going to take. Tell me, walk me through this. So in many ways, I'm forcing people to confront their next step, right? So for you out there listening to this podcast episode, wherever you are right now in a business, maybe you haven't even started a business yet, right? Maybe you're just thinking about it. Maybe you're pondering the idea. Well, stop pondering, right? What are you doing? I love, people who pontificate and then never take action, because I'm never worried that they're going to be a competitor of mine, because they're never going to do anything. So, I've had friends, and these are good people. I really deeply appreciate their friendship. But I'll be honest with you, when they talk about their grand plans for the future, I just kind of smile and nod, because, they're never going to take action on any of these wild schemes that they have. They're like, oh man, I want to buy a piece of land and start a little farm, and I'm going to start this business, and I'm going to do this and that. And I'm like, all right, well, let me know when you did that, and I'll come visit you. In the meantime, how's work going? Because, a scheme with no plan is really just a dream. Literally a person just hallucinating about the future. Sometimes if I'm bored and sitting there, I like to pretend that, I have my pilot's license and I'm flying around an airplane. And I'm like, okay, how could I actually make this happen? I could go down and get my pilot's license. That's about $10,000. So I actually start planning this out for my future. Not that I'm actively looking to make this happen right now, but I've always wanted to be a pilot. So for me, dreaming about possibilities is a very practical thing. It's not just about dreaming what could be. It's about, what are the steps from right now, I'm sitting in this chair, to there, flying in an airplane, or traveling the world and seeing a whole bunch of cool things. Or maybe, you want to just be a big philanthropist. You want to give a bunch of money to some great cause. I mean, I want to be all of those things, really. There's some really great causes in my life. There's a summer camp that I want to start supporting. I support my church. I support my family. I want, everybody I love to be successful, and everything I'm involved in to be successful. And if I have resources, if I have some wealth, I can actually start doing that, right? And of course, I can save for my kids' future. I can take my kids out and give them experiences. I don't care about toys. I don't want stuff. I'm wearing Walmart jeans right now, and I'm wearing running shoes. I don't care about stuff. What I want is experiences. And, experiences do cost money, right? They cost money. That's just life. I don't want my kids to be rich, but I want them to have something. I want them to be able to live without having to go into debt. I want them to be able to buy a house, to be able to shelter themselves and not have to go into a huge mortgage or anything like that. So those are some goals of mine. I want to pass down some generational wealth to my family. But it comes down to the experiences. That's what I want. And in order to do that, you got to start thinking bigger, right? You can't simply sit there and say, I'm going to coast on what I've got now. Now, if you're doing well, you can. If you're doing well, you can coast a little bit. But still, you've always got to be moving forward. You coasting just doesn't work in business because you think you're coasting, but you're actually slowing down. You actually are slowing down. Momentum is not friction free. So I mean, picture a freight train that's traveling at 100 miles an hour, traveling down a track. Do you think that the engineer can turn the engine off and just coast? Is that going to work? Does that work? No, of course it doesn't work because there's friction. There's always like little losses of energy and momentum that are occurring. Like the wheels are grinding against the track. The train is being pushed by the air. You're always being slowed down by the rest of the world around you. So you can never stop pushing. Even if you're not pushing super hard, you still have to be pushing. So what this boils down to is that at the level that I'm kind of operating at now, I've got to start building a team of people that are going to build the business for me. I don't have the time to do it myself. Yeah, I would love to have the time to do it myself. It's not there. I look at my calendar and, I'm like, okay, looking at my day schedule, I'm like, okay, where's lunch going to fit in here? Like, it's a struggle to just find time for going to work out or eat supper or something like that. It's like, well, this is not a sustainable thing if I want to start building my business, right? So I got to have a team. And it's not just hiring one VA either, right? We're past that point. For me, this is going to be a team of people. Team is larger than two. Now you can start with one, so yourself and one other person, but ultimately a larger, well-operating team is you delegating almost everything to other people. You've got to train them, you've got to equip them, and you've got to pay them. And depending on where you hire people, you can get a good deal on the value relative to the money that you pay, right? If you hire someone in the Philippines who's a virtual assistant, you might pay $5 an hour, but for them, that's a significant amount of money, right? House prices are not $300,000 in the Philippines. So that $5 an hour is basically like a middle income salary for those people. So that's where I'm at right now. And, it's not that I'm unwilling to do this. It's just that I've got to sit down and I've got to pick a actual specific time and start taking action on this. I know what I need to do. It's just that I've got to turn that knowledge into action. And as much as I preach this, it's often fairly challenging to make this manifest. I mean, not that difficult because I've done it before, but, still, even as a entrepreneur, I still suffer from the procrastination of what's most important right now versus what am I doing to build my future, right? It's easy to focus on the emergencies that pop up in front of you, like I have to get this work done, and so I have to focus on that solely, and then neglect the planning for the future. But you've got to be doing both if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. And if you can't do both, you're going to find it hard to grow, right? So the key is to not have too many of these emergency things that come up that distract you. Or you work a little bit harder and you build people to deal with those emergency things. And by emergency things, I just mean the daily thing of running a business, right? Filling orders, talking to customers, launching new products. And for me, it's the stuff that I do, at the job that, the role that I have as a coach and other things that I'm doing here. So, yeah, that's about it. I guess that wasn't as short an episode as I thought it was going to be. I'll be posting this without my normal intro because I don't have my my computer here, and the intro music is on that computer. But yeah, I plan to do another episode this coming weekend, and I've got a person in mind that I'm hoping that I can borrow to be a little bit of a guest on the show. And hopefully she'll say yes. I think she will, but I'm not going to tell you who it is because if she says no, then I don't want to spoil it. But I'm going to try. And either way, I'm going to be reporting my, what I do this weekend, this coming up weekend, and I'll be on the road. So, of course, you can find this podcast at salesondemandshow.com. You can join my email list at salesondemandshow.com/start. And that link is going to get you 5 free videos on how to open up your own print-on-demand business. I don't charge for that. I made those videos because I think everybody should have their own little print-on-demand business. It's really easy to run it. It's a great part-time hustle. It's something you can do on the side. And, I mean, if you want to get out of the rat race, there's no better way to start doing that now than developing multiple income streams. So let's get out there. Let's hustle. Time is wasting. Inflation is happening. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be talking more about inflation in upcoming episodes as well, so keep an eye out for that. And with that, I wish you farewell. And the next time you hear from me, I'll be in the wonderful, humid state of Florida. Cheers.